There's been some work done back here. Hang on, we'll continue in a second. I want to see what's going on. This wasn't like this about a month ago. Well, what we could confirm, thanks to visual confirmation of the map, is that this was the location of and just to point out that the reason I make these videos is because of what's going on back there. I was in the same location nearly a month ago. I'm back here today because you suggested I do something, and I'm here to do it. Also, more importantly, new details were shared with me about this area and about what we discovered last time. If you want to find out what those details are and find out what I'll be doing down there, all you need to do is come along with me. Welcome back to this abandoned railroad branch line. So to bring you up to speed, let me tell you about what we've documented here, and then we're going to share what new stuff we've learned thanks to a gracious viewer who shared a really informative, illustrative map with me. This right here, there's a beehive right there. Let me move you guys. I don't want to be near bees. All right, we're far enough away from the bees now. So what we're looking at and talking about today is an abandoned branch line which was operated by the NYS&W, New York, Susquehanna, and Western Railroad. It was also operated by the Wilkes-Barre and Eastern Railroad. I documented and traced this line on foot from its origins, starting near the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre International Airport. Now there, by the airport, going past the old GoEx powder mill, across the turnpike, into the Grimes Industrial Park, is an active line, which is run and operated by Luzerne and Susquehanna, a subsidiary of R.J. Corman. Well, off that active line was this branch line. I traced it all the way through the industrial park and ended up here just on the other side of Suscon Road. When we came here, not only saw the tracks are still left here, but I also made a discovery of an old culvert passage down below. That's what we returned for about a month ago to document that, which was a great experience. But what I ended up finding though is back there is another set of tracks, a bonus secondary line, which I didn't know existed. Wasn't sure what it was, but I did refer to it as possibly a holding line. And also over here, there is ruins and remnants of something that used to exist, a structure, and something else that I didn't mention in the video, but it did catch my attention. So let's head back there, learn more about what used to exist. So first things first, last time I was here a month ago, I made note of these ties right here, which are sticking out past this line. I knew another set of lines existed here. What I mistakenly, incorrectly said is that there was a switch right here for a secondary line splitting off. Well, I was partially correct, partially not. Now this line did split, but it was further up in that direction, I believe, closer to Suscon Road, where the left line went to the Grimes Industrial Park, right line, I believe, ended up going down towards the Stroudsburg area. So there was indeed a switch here, but it wasn't for that. Well, the thing I failed to mention in the video, but it did catch my attention, is that up here, as we continue walking, you're going to notice a clear-cut area coming through this way. Well, some of you may be piecing this together and realizing what it once was or used to be. Well, what we could confirm, thanks to visual confirmation of the map, and I do know there's more ties back there, is that this was the location of a Y, W-Y-E. It's basically a triple set of tracks, triangular shape, responsible for turning trains around, specifically locomotives. So whatever way the train was coming on the line, it would then back up down one of the thirds, switch to the other one, go forward, and it would be facing the opposite direction on the line itself. So a Y was back here, and that makes a lot more sense as to why it looks like an old rail bed right here. That's number one. Number two is this item right here. Remnants of a structure. We have a concrete wall, we have a stone wall behind it, and although I didn't know what it was, I specifically said I believe that this serviced the railroad, not that the railroad serviced it. Based on the proximity of the tracks and its location, I knew it had something to do with trains. I thought maybe a coal tipple of sorts, something responsible for steam locomotives. Well, again, thanks to that map image, we can confirm that a water tower did exist here. This was responsible for filling the trains up with water. Now I have come across plenty of old water towers, and I will say they look all different shapes and sizes and built out of different materials. This one wasn't easily recognizable. Although I have come across stone foundations and concrete water towers, this one doesn't look as traditional as other ones, but it does make sense based on the proximity of the tracks right here. And we have a wall here, and it would have been probably a barrel on top right here with the spout for filling up the locomotives with water. So we now know that this was a water tower filling station for the old steam locomotives. Coming back here now to our third and final item, which was my new bonus discovery, is the secondary line. Now, I did confirm by tracing it that the secondary line did connect with this line right here further back. The tracks are narrowing down and coming closer to this one, which would mean that there is a switch that they would have met up with on this line. Oh, this area was cleared recently. There's been some work done back here. Hang on, we'll continue in a second. I want to see what's going on. This wasn't like this about a month ago. This area has been clear cut. Huh, look at that. Just a month later, completely transformed. They're probably gonna build something back here. Wow, that changed drastically. Well, if anything, it's helping us see what used to exist. Here's the branch line, here's our secondary bonus line. As I was stating, they're kind of narrowing over. And I believe they met up with this one. Specifically came off of this line going in this direction. And we were able to confirm they didn't go all that far. And the reason why is because, well, it indeed was a holding line. This was a 2,400 foot holding line with a scale used for weighing train cars. So today it does stop here, and I made mention that there's no bump stop, there's no official ending, it just kind of stops here. According to the map, again, it would have merged over and connected with the main branch line here. So this is just a temporary holding line specifically for a scale. Also makes mention as to why all these ties are back here. There's dozens, if not over 100 ties all piled up back there, which came from this area. Probably when the scale is used, that was something to do with it. And when the rest of the rails were ripped up, they just threw the ties back there. So there's well over a few dozen ties all laying back there that came from this general area. So I will say I was pretty close with my guesstimates as to what was going on back here. I did say it was a holding line, but now we know it was 2,400 feet in length, had a scale on it. I knew there was a structure here for servicing the trains. We now know it's a water filling station, and that a Y did exist back here to turn the locomotives around, whether it be locomotives or train cars, but most likely it's locomotives, to face them in the opposite direction. It's basically like a 3-point turn in automobile terms. And just to point out that the reason I make these videos is because of what's going on back there. That's clear cut. Something's going on, the property is being transformed. Although the rails no longer exist back there, you never know if one day that's gonna work up this way and remove part of this history. But right now, we need to scale down the embankment, get down to the culvert, because there actually was something else down there at one time as well. All right, we're down near the creek now. And down here, there's actually two things I wasn't aware of. But again, the map's gonna confirm that. The first thing is that I came to a little pond area right down there in my previous video. I didn't go beyond that. I kind of wish I did, but it's okay because we're here now to confirm what's back here. Well, as you can see, there is a pipe. And I believe there's actually maybe water running through it as we speak. And it's freshly marked, and it's traced where it's going. Well, we've seen in the past, I've talked about it before, that these pipes are synonymous with reservoirs. Well, no surprise, there used to be a reservoir somewhere back here. It shows up on the map as just a 600,000 gallon reservoir, which is not all that large, but it was a water source. And this pipe came down here for a very specific reason, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But although it does go up in this direction, I know what it was used for. But it looks like this is still being used today. There's a valve here, and it's actually a busted hole in it. There's water shooting out. They have this netting around it to kind of contain it so it's not spraying out. But that is an actively used water line with water flowing through it. And it's also traced in that direction too. So if we were to trace it, it would take us to the location of the old reservoir that's no longer there, but that's now private property, so we can't do that. So we know about a reservoir, we know about this pipe, and what does this old sign say? Let's see. If I can straighten it out. Danger, hopefully you can see that. Danger, never fight explosive fires. Explosives stored on this site. Huh, that seems like something from the old mining days for like a dynamite storage shack. Just laying down here. We're not gonna leave this behind. Head downstream, and the water is much colder today than it was last time. It's cooled off significantly in this area. And there was one more thing that did exist down here that obviously is no longer here today, but it's gonna kind of tie everything together. So let me see if I get down there, show you what used to be, and explain what it was used for. And here we are, home sweet home. So, back at our really familiar place, something else did exist here. Now, according to the map, which I'm going to pull out on my phone just to confirm I'm looking at it correctly, there was a pump house down here. And showing you on the map as well, it looks like it was to the left side of the opening. So somewhere over here in this cleared out area was a pump house. Now, I'm sure many of you already know what it was used for. In case you don't, I'll share it with you. Now, without solid confirmation, I'm only piecing it together myself. The old reservoir is up there. That's where this water was originally coming from. The pipe that we saw came from the reservoir as well. The pipe is going somewhere up here. I don't know where it goes from there. I'm actually on my way out of here, but I wanted to throw this in because we were talking about the path of that pipe. Well, here's the turnaround point for tractor trailers. And you can see the blue is right there. It's right here, and if we continue to follow it, it's going to show us generally where it's going. Past the guardrail, still coming down, and again, this would be underground. And right down here is a water valve. Actually, a couple of them right down there, highlighted blue. And keep going. There is a fire hydrant here. So it's probably supplying water to this. There's also a manhole cover and another water valve right there. And the line does continue off in that way right towards Suscon Road there. But most likely there was another pipe somewhere down here coming to this pump house. Either that or water from the creek was being diverted into the pump house. The pump house was responsible for pumping the water up to the water tower for filling the locomotives. So that's my understanding. I'm pretty sure it's pretty accurate. Here's another possibility. The culvert is straight down there, or above and to the left of it. and I showed this in my previous video, there's a flattened out, cleared out area here. I didn't think much of it, but with how flat it is, the good amount of room, and the pile of all these loose rocks here, there's definitely a likelihood that that pump house could have been up here, a little bit further away from the culvert and closer to the water tower, which would have been right up there. But now we could piece it together, what was going on back here in the day. A lot more that no longer exists. Looking at this area, I never would have imagined that a pump house was back here. But regardless, a pump house existed. The pumped water, fighting gravity, up to the water filling station, water tower, just up there, less than 50 yards away. So you may be wondering, why are we back here? Well, basically because you suggested I do it, and I'm here to do it. You may remember, if you watched this video, they had to contend with this blockage here. I had a hard time lifting my leg over it, poor flexibility on my part, and I talked about a little bit how it's being restrictive and water's minimally flowing through. When that video came out though, there was more than just a few comments mentioning this. Basically they were saying, why didn't you clear the blockage? I would have cleared the blockage. You should have cleared the blockage. Post 10 would have cleared the blockage. Well, as someone who is a fan of Post 10, I've watched many of his videos. I know he clears dams and drainage pipes and everything else to clear up the water. Well, I didn't do it because I didn't want to be a copycat. That's his thing. That's what he's known for. And although there are a lot of other people out there to do it, I've seen a lot of videos shared or shown to me on social media with people getting like excavators or heavy equipment clearing big beaver dams or log dams. So he's not the only person to do it, but I didn't want to jump on a bandwagon and start doing it. I've never cleared a dam before. My first time doing it. Obviously it's common sense, just remove the debris, open up the flow of water. I don't have any tools with me except my hands and a pair of gloves. I'm gonna remove what I can by hand, and hopefully it'll allow for a clear water passage for heavier storms. The water's actually down lower now than last time I was here. So once I do unclear it, there's not gonna be a big rush or wave of water. It's not gonna be dramatic, unfortunately. But I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Also, it's satisfying to watch a jam up like this get removed and then be free and clear for heavier rains in the future. So I'm gonna leave you guys up here. I have a camera filming on the inside here, getting a backside view, and I'm probably gonna speed up the footage. It's gonna take me a little bit of time. If I wish I had a shovel, I didn't bring one because some of this material could use a good shoveling out of here. But at the very least, we'll get the big stuff out of here. I'm just gonna basically toss it on the sides, get out of the way. So let me get set up and we'll start getting to work. Microphone fell off. Here's the before, and here's after. I'm by no means really skilled in doing this. Obviously, as I said, it's my first time, but I think I did a pretty substantial job. Obviously, a shovel, pickaxe would be incredibly helpful. There's still a lot of dirt and rocks and stones and some buried sticks here, but for the most part, the main blockage is gone. As you saw, I removed quite a few branches, some good-sized tree trunks, a big rock right there, and although it's not far off the sides, it's far enough away that it's not going to come back in right away. I think this is going to be good for another wet season, but that was a lot of hard work. I'm not going to lie. Doing it all by hand, one person, I worked up a pretty good sweat, got my heart racing, but I feel accomplished. But let me bring it on over, we'll get a closer look at it. So I have a lot of the smaller stuff on that side, the bigger, heavier stuff over here. Pretty much this whole pile right here, aside from that big broken trunk right there, is from me and from this spot right here. So we knocked it down over a foot. I removed a big boulder that was still kind of blocking things up. I rolled it into the water, and now it's nice and free and clear. So if it does rain heavy again, when the water level does rise, it has a clear shot directly over this. I have to go in and get my camera as well, but I just want to show you the backside. I didn't give you before and after back here, but from my previous video, you knew exactly what it looked like. So, not perfect, but a vast improvement. And now this creek can flow with no obstructions through the culvert. Not too shabby. I do want to be honest, I was partially inspired by Post 10 to make this video. Obviously, I've watched his videos. I know many of you who commented and watched my videos also watch his, because his name was mentioned multiple times in that previous video in the comment section. So I'm definitely not trying to copy him. I just felt an exception could be made, and this was inspired by Post 10, so to speak. And I feel like we picked a good location to do it. It wasn't something I couldn't handle on my own. Nothing that needed tools for the most part, except a shovel would have been beneficial. And knowing that we did something good for nature and the environment here, that water can flow clearly through here unobstructed. With that being said, I don't plan on incorporating this into my channel at all. This may be a one-off occurrence. I may do it sparingly in the future, but there's enough people out there that do dam removals, drain clogs. I always try to incorporate something new and different, and if I do something that someone else has done, I try and do it in my own special or unique way. So I don't want to be a direct ripoff, but some things do overlap, and something like this, I felt like I said, an exception could be made. And being that I've never done this before, I'm happy with the results. I hope you are as well. You suggested I come back and do this. I listened, I did it. I kept my word on it, and the results speak for themselves. I think we did a good thing here. Also, beyond that, special thanks to the viewer who did reach out to me and send me that map showing what is no longer here, but once existed, both down here and above. Each time I come back here, we seem to learn more and more about this area and able to kind of put those pieces of the puzzle together to see the bigger image and picture. So learning about the reservoir, the piping, the pump house, the water tower, the Y, the way station and the holding line, I mean, that's a great deal of information that we didn't necessarily know about. We can only assume or speculate what was taking place. But then when we get visual confirmation, there's no denying it as to what was going on back here. This was a pretty bustling area back in the day, and many things are gone, but the rails and this culvert passage still exists today. So anyways, I want to thank you for watching, for taking time out of your day and coming here with me. Although, excuse me, you watched from the sidelines, I heard you rooting me on. Go Jay, you could do it. And again, I'm happy with the results. First time doing it, there's nothing I would change about it. I got a good workout in, worked up a good sweat, got to play in some water, which I love as a Pisces, and come back to a beautiful area like this. So it's a win-win all around. Otherwise, take care everyone, stay safe, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.